Welcome to another Death Public Service announcement by Lemasters Consulting. I'll be your host, Paul Lemasters, funeral director, embalmer, and attorney, aka Death Law Guy. So, what is a Death Public Service announcement? Well, you know, a PSA, a public service announcement, is a short message. Well, this is a short message about death, funerals, cemeteries, and specifically the perceived ideas that consumers and death care providers have within funerals and cemeteries and death care. So, today's Death PSA question: what's the difference between a funeral and a cremation? Is there a difference? What do consumers think? Let's see what they say.
Which of the following items do you associate with a funeral? Church, funeral home, eulogy, music. This is going to be hard for me. I work at a church.
This is great.
Minister, casket, urn, obituary, cemetery, reception. Okay, so pretty much all of them. Mausoleum, gravestone, hearse, and sadness.
All right, which of the following items do you associate with a cremation? Cremations, I feel like that's less of this stuff involved, so I'm gonna go with urn, a hearse maybe to still transport, and a funeral home. On a casket, I guess, too. Sadness still. All right. Which of the following items do you associate with a funeral? Let's see. I know I associate a hearse, maybe some flowers. I can see some flowers. Definitely a cemetery, a casket, gravestone for sure. Funeral home. I've only been to a few funerals, but both I've been to, there's just a ton of sadness, so bring sadness. Church and eulogy.
Which of the following do you associate with cremation? Casket, reception, music, obituary, funeral home, cemetery, urn, sadness, minister, hearse, eulogy, flowers, church, gravestone, mausoleum. This one, not as many. No casket. Reception, definitely. Obituary, yes. Music, not necessarily a funeral home. Definitely an urn, some sadness. No, well, gravestone. I think part of being cremated is not having to have a gravestone. Being put somewhere you love. I think that's it. Well, mausoleum, yeah, they put them in there a lot.
How much do you think a funeral cost? $13,000?
How much do I think a cremation costs? Man, I should have studied before this. I want to say less. I'll go with $3,000. How much do you think a funeral costs? A lot. I know that. Let's see. I'm gonna go. Let's see. The range is 0 to 20,000. I'm gonna say a funeral costs about $10,000. Right in the middle. I like that.
How much do you think a cremation costs? I know exactly. My mom died a couple of years ago, and it was somewhere around $2,000.
So you obviously have some background.
I do.
And that's great. No, because it's nice to you, but you still see a difference between a funeral and a cremation.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Why do you think the cremation, but why do you think cremation is less expensive?
So from my experience, cremation has been less expensive, dependent on what the family wishes are. Things like visitation. If they don't have a visitation in the funeral home, it's cheaper. I know, a lot of those charges and those extras build into the cost. And not all of the families that I've serviced have done, a big fancy casket when they've had a cremation, so that cuts some of the costs down.
Fair.
So things like that.
Price.
I just feel like there's more, involved with like the preservation of the body, and there's more that you have to do there versus in my head, what a cremation is more like of a streamlined. Does that sound?
No, it sounds yeah.
Okay. Does that sound insensitive? Like, just get to it.
So what do we know? Well, it's an interesting dynamic, and it's the perception of two different groups. As a funeral director, and as I talk to funeral directors, here's what we know. A cremation is part of a funeral, but listening to consumers and looking at the statistics, here's what we know consumers think. Consumers see funerals as a very distinct item. They include things like the minister, the church, the casket, flowers, music, everything. But when we ask what is a cremation, they see it as a very specific, distinct item with much less. And the idea is we need to understand that these are the same. The other issue across the board for everybody is consumers see these not only as very distinct, but also cost very different. The idea is we have created a perception among consumers and even our profession that cremation is lesser, and they shouldn't be. Cremations are part of funerals. They're the same, and that's what we need to understand. You can have a body present, a visitation, a casket, and burial at a cemetery, memorialization, with a cremation or with a funeral. Again, they're one and the same, just a different process in between. So, the more you know about cremation and funerals, the better you can do it. Thanks. Thanks again for watching another Death PSA with me, Paul Lemasters, your death law guy. If you ever want to see any more of our death PSAs or anything else that we have available, please go to our site, lemastersconsulting.com. And by all means, if you ever have a question or a comment about anything related to death, human or pet side, feel free to contact me anytime. I'm always willing to help. Thanks again. Have a good death and funeral. See ya.